There's so much to see and do at Disney that no matter how many times I make the trip, I always seem to find new and exciting things. So here are a few of my new favorites from Disney World in August 2019. We absolutely love the Haunted Mansion, so we walked past the Columbia Harbor House a million times, but somehow we never seemed to have made it inside, and we decided on this trip we were going to make a point of going in. And even though you'd think I'd be used to it by now, I was so surprised at how big it was inside. Disney's so good about using their space that you're used to walking in and being like, oh, this is bigger than I expected in here. But still, somehow Columbia Harbor House managed to surprise me, and I was blown away at how much room there was inside. We looked over the menu together, and then once we'd made our choices, I left my husband in line to order the food, and I went upstairs to find us a nice seat. I was lucky enough to find a table for two in the portion that goes over the walkway between Peter Pan's meet and greet and the Haunted Mansion. Supposedly, this is a really great spot to watch the parade from, but we were there a little too early for that. But I could really see how that could be a great spot because we ended up doing a little bit of people watching there, and it was just a nice, calm place to get away from everything. That area is a nice sort of sectioned off smaller room of the dining area, so it was a little bit calmer, a little bit quieter, and it was just a really nice, pleasant place to spend a little time. We ordered the trio platter and a side of rice and then split that together. It ended up being just the right amount that we both felt like we had a substantial amount of real food without filling up so much that we couldn't enjoy some of those wonderful Disney snacks. We enjoyed our little spot so much that a couple days later when we were back in Magic Kingdom, we once again left my poor husband in line to get food while I went up and grabbed a table. We ended up a couple tables down, but in the same basic area, and we were able to sit and enjoy our food and stay nice and dry while watching the people strolling around in the streets below in their ponchos and umbrellas. Over at Epcot, a friend of ours recently introduced us to a wonderful cocktail in the Canada Pavilion. Just before the Le Cellier archway that leads down to the restaurant, there is a little cart that sells maple popcorn, but it also has an amazing cocktail called the Ottawa Apple. It has cranberry juice and a maple flavored whiskey, which I'm not normally a big whiskey drinker, but this one is just so smooth and sweet. You can sip this and it's cool and refreshing no matter how hot it gets at Epcot, and we just absolutely love these. We actually normally at Epcot tend to split everything so that we can try a little bit of a lot more things, but we've learned with the Ottawa Apple it's usually best to order two because we're both going to want one. And of course at Epcot we do a lot of snacking, but our go-to pavilion lately has been Germany. In the Werther's Original Caramel Shop, there are so many fantastic treats. They have a whole bunch of different treats that are covered in various combinations of chocolate and caramel, but our favorites lately have definitely been the chocolate and caramel covered pineapple, which is so sweet and juicy and delicious. It's ultra refreshing on those hot park afternoons, but mostly we buy a lot of the caramel corn. We've been known to buy something like, say, the pineapple to eat right away and at the same time buy a bag of caramel corn that we throw into one of our park bags. And anytime in the afternoon when we're getting just a little bit munchy, we might break out that bag of caramel corn. Sometimes it makes it all the way back to the room. Sometimes it makes it to the airport, which is always nice to have something to munch on while you're sitting there at the airport. And it extends that Disney magic just a little bit further. But to be honest, it usually does not make it that far. I've always been a big fan of caramel corn, but the Epcot version is the best. Typically, you're eating just regular popcorn that has a sort of fine mist of a sort of caramely flavored topping, but at Epcot it is so much thick, gooey caramel that you are literally like chewing it, which sounds kind of silly, I know, but it's so rich and over the top from your typical average caramel corn. It's amazing and definitely one of our favorite treats. One afternoon at Disney Springs, I was looking for something substantial enough to hold me over until dinner, but still kind of fun and Disney. When I saw that Aristocrates was open, I didn't even consider other options. I chose the strawberry bubble waffle and I have no regrets. I mean, strawberries and ice cream on a delicious, delicious waffle, what's not to love? And waffles are a breakfast food, so it was basically brunch, right? For $8.99, I thought you got a pretty decent amount of food. I actually had a hard time finishing it on my own since my husband insisted on having real food for lunch. Party pooper. To be fair, I was tempted by the savory crepes that were listed. Maybe next time. Maybe. One of my all-time faves at Disney is, of course, a Dole Whip, and they used to be really hard to find. There were only a few places on Disney property you could get one, so if I saw one, I felt the need to pounce and immediately order one. Now they're of course a little more common and you can find them in more places, so somehow across from the co-op I managed to get past the Dole Whips on this trip and actually go to the margarita stand behind that, and I am so glad I did. Major note to myself in the future, that was a very good option. It was delicious. Again, it was cool and refreshing because it was so hot on this trip. Really good move. Glad I did that. Especially now that Dole Whips are getting a little more accessible, it's always nice to have more options for something cool and refreshing on those hot days in Florida. I also have a couple great faves from Animal Kingdom. As I mentioned earlier, we've been big fans of Epcot's chocolate and caramel covered pineapple for a while, but at Zuri's Sweet Shop in Animal Kingdom, I think they've got it beat. They have a similar chocolate covered chunk of pineapple, no caramel, but I feel like more of the pineapple is usually covered in chocolate, and I'm all about getting extra chocolate, and it just always seems a little bit juicier. I don't know why, if it's some storage difference or the way they cut it or something, but it just always seems that little bit better at Animal Kingdom. You get a pretty good chunk of pineapple for the price, and this is another one that we don't usually bother splitting anymore. Typically, we go ahead and get two. Then at the refreshment stand across from Tusker House in Africa, I just had to try the Lion King themed Dole Whips. They have the Simba Sunset, which is a typical Dole Whip float, but has strawberry, watermelon, and coconut syrups added. Yum. But they also have the King's Cooler, which is the same thing, but you can add your choice of dark or coconut rum. Obviously, I went with coconut because I love me some coconut rum, and it just sticks with that whole tropical theme. It was so good. Loved it. Absolutely delicious. It's probably my favorite Dole Whip variant of all the ones I've tried, and there have been some really good ones, but usually I end up going back to that regular original Dole Whip as being the classic and the best. But this one, I actually could see me going specifically for. It was so good, sweet and delicious and refreshing. Definitely a win in my book. So those were my favorite treats on our August Disney trip. What are your favorite go-to Disney treats? What should I try on future visits? I hope you found this helpful and entertaining. If you did, I hope you'll like and subscribe down below. Ring the little bell to get a notification when I upload a video, usually every Monday and Thursday. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.